GM fam. Long time no chat. Really missed doing all these live streams with you all. Give it just a minute. Oh wow, we already got 4 people. Looks like things are going to be hopping in. GM Sir, layman's terms. Great to chat with you. Great to see all of you in this morning. And it's a great morning. I had a lot of fun putting together today's article. If you haven't yet, I would appreciate, it looks like it got shadow banned, which surprised me, because the topic of today's article, I really wanted to, I don't feel like there's been enough attention yet being given to the situation going on with the developer being arrested for writing open source software. And you might recall at the beginning, I was a little bit on the fence. I said, I certainly, of course, support free speech, freedoms like privacy, but then I wanted to wait to get the details, because maybe the U.S. government was acting in good faith. Maybe there was actually some significant intel that this person that they'd arrested, a developer by the name of Alex, maybe he was actually a bad guy. I didn't know. I wanted to give the government a little bit of time to press the case. But it's been nearly a month now, and the government hasn't really advanced any meaningful case. And the most recent thing that they did was they basically slurred him for his ethnicity. And that's not a good attack. So if that's the best that they could present after a month, I'm 100% in. Free Alex. Have a lobster, free Alex. Yes. So I've been looking for things that I could do to contribute to this free Alex cause, because I think it's a really important one. I think that it's an existential battle for cryptocurrency, and I want to support the fight. But it's tough, because I'm also in America, and I have an obligation in America to comply with all sanctions. And I still need to give the government a little bit of benefit of the doubt, because that's just the sort of society that we live in. So I can't, of course, oppose the sanctions or recommend anyone oppose the sanctions directly, but I still want to do whatever I can here within America. So what I thought to do for today's article was to just go through some of the more effective arguments other people are making, because I think one of the nice things I've seen is that the community really has stepped up on this. There's been a lot of people who came in and spoke up in support. And I think because of this popular sentiment, we might actually see some sort of decision getting reversed should it head to the courts. So I think that we're looking at good things in terms of this. Now, let's see, we're up to only 1 concurrent viewer, which is, I guess I just, either SK or layman's terms. I see 2 people in the comments, but 1 viewer, so apparently I scared all of you off. The reason I bring this up is funny, is yesterday, I'd been also a little concerned about even mentioning the subject of Tornado Cash, etc., anything like that, because I thought, there's all sorts of algorithmic filters, maybe it's gonna knock me out. So I did a just random test on Twitter yesterday. I posted 3 tweets in rapid succession. It's layman's terms. You're the only person. Well, we appreciate. So just tell me what you want to talk about, since it's just the 2 of us. It's a private room. So when it came to Twitter, I posted 3 tweets that were nearly identical. Basically saying, 1, just a very simple, hey, like this tweet if you see it. 2nd being, like this tweet if you see it, and then the words Tornado Cash. And then 3rd being, like this tweet if you see it, and then actually going directly at Tornado Cash. And I expected that the Tornado Cash ones would be suppressed, and that the non-Tornado Cash one would be gaining the most popularity. But to my surprise, it was reversed. So it turns out the algorithm is actually rewarding content about Tornado Cash. Or so I thought. I tweeted this morning, and usually by now I've gotten a few likes and a few retweets, but it looks as if this has been shadow banned, because, interesting, the comments are coming in. 3rd person GM, SK still here. Hilda says here too, don't know what's going on with YouTube. So I think there's maybe I jumped the gun in assuming that because the 3 tweets I saw pretty quickly, getting a lot of likes for the one that had Tornado Cash and very few likes for the ones that didn't, maybe I assumed that Twitter was actually rewarding this content. So I thought, oh great, I don't need to be bashful about speaking out, I can just go ahead and speak out. But it does seem as if today, all the content related to Alex Pertsov, the developer, as well as Tornado Cash, might be getting shadow banned. So it's just us hardcore people here. Been watching from the YouTube count is wrong. Yeah, my guess is that it's just some censorship going on, and I'm not saying that in any way trying to decry it, because I think that All these platforms I'm the guest on, I have an obligation of following whatever the rules are. But that being said, like my concept, I'm here to talk about this, so I don't particularly care if I get kicked off the channel and lose a few hundred. GM Simba 47. All right, there's now 10 people in chat and only 2 listen to concurrent views. At any rate, today's article, where I thought could be useful and valuable for people, was I wanted to go through and actually just discuss what I saw, what were all the arguments, and most importantly, which ones were the most persuasive. So if you are going to speak out, which I advise everyone to do, because who cares about the shadow banning? That being said, since there are 10 of you in the comments, if you could do me a favor and find my Twitter pinned tweet and like and retweet that if possible. That worked really hard on it, and I think it was a good tweet. Maybe I'm wrong. Sometimes I just have a bad sense, bad radar for what content's going to be popular. But I think this one's the one that should have been a banger, because I had a lot of fun doing it, and just got to assemble essentially a BuzzFeed-style listicle of what are the top 10 arguments in favor of Tornado Cash. Because I was really interested in seeing what's sticking. It seems like it's kind of a tough subject, but if you're gonna risk getting shadow banned, you might as well put your best foot forward. So in terms of engagement, I ranked this from 10th to 1st. And here we go. I'll go ahead and talk about this until you all have better suggestions for things to talk about. Because again, maybe I have this skewed. Maybe this is a subject nobody cares about, and that's why I'm not getting engagement. So it might not be shadow banning. It might just be no one cares. I'm open to that. Although, let's see how the tweet's doing. Yeah, that's why. Only 2 likes on the tweet, which is a bit low. You saw that within minutes of just asking people to like the tweet the other day, I got 20. At least on Twitter, it seems like we're shadow banned. So again, if you have Twitter, please do take a minute to pop onto Twitter, share, retweet. For some reason, the Twitter, something I said in there is not getting through their filter. It might be because I said something about Brad Sherman yesterday, and I think it seems like maybe he's got some friends at Twitter. Alright, so the worst of all the tweets that I looked at in terms of what got engagement, but still driving a fair amount of engagement. You can see some of these popular authors here got several hundreds, but fell short of the thousands. So I think there's a real market for this kind of raw, boring, matter-of-fact, neutral tone, educational tweet. Because there is, of course, on Twitter, all these high drama and emotions, and people are fomenting mobs and all this. But there's still a lot of people who just care about dry facts. And at the end of the day, when you strip out all this kind of sentiment layer on top, when it gets debated in courts, they're going to try and devolve to just the facts. And the thing that's great about Tornado Cash is the facts are on its side. It's a really interesting protocol. It's incredibly well designed, and when you look at how it works, it's a phenomenal piece of technology. And I don't think people recognize this until they dive into it and have their minds blown a bit. So actually just sharing raw technical information on Tornado Cash is a super effective way of doing this. Number 9, cryptocurrency values. This was a bit of a catch-all category, but I really noticed that there was a unifying effect when this Tornado Cash thing happened, because Bitcoiners fight Ethereum people, Ethereum we all infight, but in the immediate aftermath of this, everybody in cryptocurrency really seemed to recognize it. The Bitcoin people recognize, okay, maybe they're coming for us next, even though about 2 weeks ago they were trying to get Ethereum regulated as a security. So it's nice that Bitcoiners returned a bit to their roots. We all kind of united. It's not a very effective argument in terms of getting broad reach, but if you just talk about our values, I think it's a really great conversation for us to have, because a lot of us are more united than we like to think here in this community. So here's some examples of people that I saw just embodying this this discussion about some of cryptocurrency's values at this time. Because I think we can win, ultimately, more people to our community by expressing these values and by reinforcing them and making sure that everything we're building is living these values. Number 8, so free speech is something I'm very passionate about, but I feel like I have a different take on free speech than most people. So I don't think that free speech is necessarily a core fundamental human right. Quite the opposite. Most of us in society deliberately, all of us, self-censor, and it's always the incredibly unpopular people that test the boundaries, and as a result, defending free speech means you're usually defending incredibly unpopular people. Now, most of you are probably able to handle complexities, but most human beings have trouble kind of separating out like, oh wait, have support this good concept, but I'm against this bad person. So like free speech arguments usually fall flat, and that's why the framers of the Constitution had to put it first. But I think that us people who are like capable of a bit more complex thought probably realize that it's not so much a right or a core like native human right that we all hold and cherish, but the real value of free speech is that it actually makes our organizations stronger. So it's a tactical advantage. This is like a super weapon that we can use to protect and defend our communities and make it stronger. So, in other words, if you have two completely independent societies, one of which allows free speech and the other doesn't, and the two are otherwise the same in every way, I would expect we'd all agree that over the longer term, the society with free speech is going to outperform the one without free speech. And I might be wrong about that, but that's my hypothesis, and I think it's sort of borne out over time, which is one of the reasons why it's been enshrined as this value, is simply it's just, it makes communities stronger when we have free speech. So, don't know. It's, hey, look at that. The tweet is taken off. Thanks all of you for liking that. So, free speech at work. Like, we are fighting this battle by utilizing some free speech. So, thank you all very much on that. So anyway, I think that the free speech advocates recognize the importance of free speech for whatever reason. I think a lot of people do see it as a value, and I don't want to trample on that. But I think that just ultimately, if we frame this as this is a weapon our team can use that gives us a competitive advantage of other teams, and I think free speech might become more popular. So you see some people advancing the free speech argument, but it doesn't get quite that much traction. But actually, like, from here on out, all of these are getting a fair amount of like traction. So the first three like arguments might be kind of debatable, but 7 onwards, like full steam ahead. Like these are winning arguments, and we should be on Twitter like pressing this as hard as we can. We should be on Facebook. I don't touch Facebook or Reddit or those communities. Like these are winning arguments in favor of our side. One of the best parts is just laughing at people. So number 7 was funny examples of kind of the absurdities of all this censorship theater and compliance theater that companies were engaged in. Because in the immediate aftermath, what was really scary about this was not so much the government doing this, but the way that every company was bum rushing to outcompete each other with absurd examples of compliance. And that's going to kill cryptocurrency faster than almost anything. Or I should rephrase that, because it's not going to kill cryptocurrency. Crypto's going to be fine. But it's going to hurt a lot of people like us who want to play with cryptocurrency if we're in an environment where 99% of addresses are sanctioned and we're unable to interact with it. So the best and most effective pushback to this in this like really chilling climate was when all of a sudden people just started laughing at it. So they were pointing out some of the absurd examples. Here's Justin Sun talking about being blocked by Aave. Here's Kobe trying to use this against his enemy Gainsey. Like, this is pretty funny, and I don't think that the authorities really like being laughed at because they kind of count on people taking them seriously. So just laughing at the absurd implications of this is a really effective tactic. This one kind of surprised me, but it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Like the creative community, I call this JPEGs because NFTs and like all these artsy projects. I feel like we're always stuck, a lot of us are stuck in like raw math and code land. And we forget that there's a much bigger liberal arts type population out there, and a lot of them are really aligned with Web3 and cryptocurrency values. So there's actually a big army of like creative talent out there, and similar to like laughter being a great medicine, culture is a great medicine. So memes are powerful, and there's a lot of interesting art projects out there that have been sprung up to support Tornado Cash. And this is like a really good opportunity for people who can't code, but there's a ton of creativity. Like, let's win the culture wars. Let's get some art. Let's get memes. Let's get JPEGs. This guy sang the Tornado Cash code base, which is a brilliant take on it. This person encoded it as a piece of art. Great ideas. And this brings me to a bit of a shameless plug. I'm going to go ahead and interrupt the list for the 2 to question mark number of people who are following this. No idea how many people are following because YouTube's being kind of funny about this. But I've been very engaged for almost a year with PacDAO at building out a Member of Congress scorecard. And it just went live yesterday, and it's been off to a fantastic start. So I always launch these things, and I never know how they're going to do. We've had some that kind of collapsed and did nothing, but we've had some that were pretty active. But we have actually seen some like really good engagement and people engaging with this so the concept is that we are doing a bit of a dual blend. In addition to minting via like random mint, we also have several auctions being instigated on all 530 plus members of Congress. I say plus because there's also a few like people from like observer territory that get mixed in there. So there's about like 540, let's say, Congress people. And we decided to mint a generative art NFT, imagining what they look like as a cat for each of them. And we went ahead and published these. And to my like pleasant surprise, we've already got 10 mints on it, so that's pretty good. We did this interesting mechanic because within Congress, like there's like this huge drop-off. There's like a small number of people. We could probably think of like 5 or 10 senators and representatives you could name off the top of your tongue that everyone knows. So everyone knows a few people, and then if you get down to that long tail, there's just a lot of people that they're just there for the graft. They just want the corruption. They want the money, the kickbacks. They don't want the publicity. So we needed a minting mechanic that would allow us to like get to this long tail, but also make sure that we weren't like sacrificing value for these few auctions. And it's so far been going great. SK, who's been in the stream, I'm pretty sure, was very helpful at getting this over the finish line. So tremendous thanks to SK in terms of getting the front end up and polished. This here is the front end, and just wanted to walk through a few of the kind of fun aspects of this. So just quickly, like, this is the active ongoing auctions. So the auctions were essentially the ones we thought would be reserved for like the super rare traits. Like, and as you can see, like, when I was asking you to name Congress people, you're probably thinking of Nancy Pelosi, maybe Elizabeth Warren, AOC, and sure enough, like, these are the ones that auctions have been triggered on. So there's been a little intense bidding already on this. We see Nancy Pelosi, Elizabeth Warren, and AOC are. You all have until tomorrow, and the bid's pretty low still, so you might get a bargain on these. But then on top of that, there's also been a number of people that just minted directly. So here's the OpenSea page. You can see we've already got 10 items minted. So the auction ones are anything up for an auction is not minted. If you mint a random pack, you don't know who you get, but there's actually a few rare, or one rare one that came up through this, which is kind of exciting. Like most of the mints end up being pretty common people. But Tim Ryan is actually a fairly big name, as I've heard Sharice Davis as well, in terms of Congress people. Second Set Maze got Elaine Luria and tweeted about that, which was pretty fun. I think it would actually be really fun if every time one of these Congress kitties got minted, if people went on Twitter and shared it, because I think that would help drive it viral. 2 senators. Senators are, of course, rarer than Congress people, so that's notable. We got Michigan Senator Debbie Stabenow and Jim Rich from Idaho. But what was really cool to see is, like, there's only 17 Congress people to be identified as rare. And what I mean by rare is, if you notice, most of them have this kind of normal texture, but we did custom art for some of them. And for, like, Brad Sherman, for example, very well known, very unpopular. We were holding a vote on our website of just asking people their crypto sentiment on all of these representatives. And Brad Sherman, by far the worst sentiment in terms of anything. But if you notice, his texture is like this kind of like cool sprinkly texture. And we also like custom did the art for him to make sure that like all of them ended up looking pretty close, because we like did a good job tagging features. But in some cases we like really take over the finish line in some of them. Brad Sherman is one of them that got this. And he also got a special flare of sunglasses. So he gave sunglasses to the worst ranking member of cryptocurrency because, you know, they can't see the future. So pretty cool that somebody was able to mint a rare Brad Sherman just through a random mint. So they're probably going to get that a bit of a discount. And you can see there they have this new trait. There's the only one, of course we're still early here, but the only one that has this rare texture. There's 17 in total. 3 of them are up for auction. So Pelosi, AOC, and Warren are all rare. They have that special texture to it if you zoom in on it. And you can see like the art works pretty good in all these. There's still a number. So 4 rares have been taken off the shelf, but there's still 13 rares left. So expect to see some interesting mechanics. We'll have our packed out call at 11. So if you're interested in talking about like maybe some tweaks we can make, one thing I want to suggest at the packed out call is we maybe lower the cost of minting. Now that 4 of the rares are off the table, it would seem to be a good argument to reduce the minting price by a quarter. And maybe we could give like coupons to the people who already minted at the full price so that they don't feel like they missed out. But wanted to suggest that on the 11 a.m. call today. But that being said, like if you want to guarantee any of these seats, you have to do it by triggering an auction. It's the only way that you can take it out of the capability of being minted by a random packer. So we've had a lot of fun with this, as you can see. What's the annoying background music? Is there annoying background music? That is not good. I do not hear any annoying background music. Is anyone else hearing annoying background music, or is this Fed trying to get people off the screen? We like Fed, so it's not a complaint if it is a Fed. But I only see it coming in through my mic, so I do not know what background music you're talking about. Alright, so again, that's PacDAO. Please, if you are interested in that, share that, because may also be getting shadow banned, and PacDAO's Twitter account doesn't quite have a ton of reach, so it's up to all of you sharing this to get the word out there. Like, we just need the community to really step up. We kind of were a bit hush-hush about it, because we wanted to give the community kind of the first crack at any of these potential rare ones. But now that the community's had 24 hours to act, like, we really need to go full court on this. Just have a fun, NFT mint weekend. All right, getting back to the arguments that we could do. Sounds like an AC. Okay. I think what's going on is usually I use this microphone. It's a very good Yeti mic that I got by being on the Bankless Style podcast. The Yeti mic for some reason is not working well with the computer, so I had to unplug it at the last minute. So I'm just talking with my normal computer speaker. So it's probably not quite as good a sound quality as usual. It doesn't have the noise filtering. All right, those of you just joining us, and I see there's only one person here apparently. According to YouTube, there's one viewer, and I'm getting comments from at least like 3 or 4 of you. Layman's Terms loves this. Yeah, thank you so much. It was a real blast to do it. I know it might only appeal to nerds like me, but we get like one political article, this would have been viral. So it's the kind of case where like the quality's there. It's whether or not the attention is marketing's not my strong suit. There's static, no music. Let me try plugging the microphone back in and just see if maybe it works better this time. And as I do this, we are going on to civil disobedience. So we're talking about the 5 best engagement strategies, particularly regarding Tornado Cash. And I've plugged in my microphone. Tell me, are you able to hear hear me or not? So, go ahead and keep talking because I do see my mic seems to be capturing something. So give me a shout if for some reason you're not able to hear anything. The 5th best engagement strategy is civil disobedience, and this one makes sense. Like, of course, like we all encourage everybody to only follow legal means for any type of, like, OFAC sanctions are a big deal. And one of the reasons I suggested particularly and still encourage everyone to comply with them is because they're a big deal. Like, in theory, they're only issued if it's like a matter of national security. Violating them, you can go straight to jail. So these are supposed to be reserved for extreme cases. And as a result, like, always encourage people to like treat this with the gravity and seriousness that they deserve. So don't do anything stupid, and especially do not interact with Tornado Cash. That's a bad form of civil disobedience because it's against the law. But there's good forms of civil disobedience, and you're going to get way better success. Nice. There's a bit of a lag, so glad we all captured all that. We encourage everybody to engage in civil disobedience, but only the specific legal kind. So there's some really good examples of this. Tether is, maybe there's just a marketing stunt. Maybe it's actually like a principled stand. But they didn't do anything bad. They just said, we're going to wait until we get law enforcement instruction. And compared with all the other companies that were falling over their private parts to engage in censorship, like, this stood out as a bold stance. And of course, it got really well rewarded. 4,000 likes here. Matthew Green made a GitHub repository to republish a fork of Tornado Cash. Because I think there's a free speech, people would agree, there's a pretty strong argument that we shouldn't be censoring speech and code. Code should be free. So Matthew Green is going to be, I believe, represented by EFF on his battle here. And that might actually be a good cause that PacDAO can donate its funds, because PacDAO's, any money going to PacDAO, that's in the form of a fundraiser for a legal fund. And the specific target might be Coin Center, because Coin Center is doing really good work, and it might also be EFF. So we're PAC is a little bit waiting to see which organization ends up actually financing a legal fight, because that's probably the strongest and most effective method. And then speaking of Coin Center, Jerry Brito just straight up is challenging OFAC, saying in public that it overstepped its legal authority and exploring a court challenge. Like, this is the kind of civil disobedience, completely legal, that we want to see. So we encourage everyone to engage in this, all two to however many of you, to engage in this form of way of pushing for this. All right, we're up to the top 4 arguments. We saw these arguments on Twitter and they got the most likes. Number 4 surprised me also, but it kind of makes sense if you think about it. This is the one that pretty much all the major organizations and companies have fallen behind. It's this idea that technology isn't a person. So you can't sanction technologies because it's not a person. So, I mean, we know Mitt Romney got famous by saying corporations are people too, my friend. The argument that technology is not a person seems to be holding some water. Although maybe you could actually cleverly invert this and say that technology has the same legal rights as person. And then it gets into crazy stuff. Because I don't think anyone's ever, like, if corporations are people, they should be allowed to vote. And therefore, if technology is people, maybe it should be allowed to vote too. And if bots can vote, we're going to win every election. So maybe we should invert this and say technology is people. But that being said, like, all these like organizations have a lot of funding. They probably sat down and workshop through this, and they all arrived at this talking point. And it was the 4th best, so good on them. You see EFF saying, like, we're concerned that we're sanctioning an open source project instead of people. Brian Armstrong, this is his take at Coinbase. And I now understand the brilliance of this, because Twitter is this weird subset of reality. And it's all these people who are hyper online. So, of course, online people care about technology. So there's actually a really wide audience that cares about the fate of technology. They're all online. This probably won't work at the Thanksgiving table with your aunt and uncle and relatives, but it works really well on Twitter. So if you're fighting online, fall into this and really complain about the unfairness and how this can harm technology. It's an effective argument. They got the 4th most likes. Here we see Jake Chervinsky. Sanctions apply to entities. Like, it seemed at first like inside baseball, but these really took off. Same with Neeraj at Coin Center. Number 3, the fight for privacy. This was also a very fun one, because I would have assumed the opposite. Like, this is one of the reasons I'm not in marketing, because all my intuitions about this were pretty much wrong. But the 3rd best argument for Tornado Cash is that people actually like privacy. Like, who knew? Like, there's been this like weird smear campaign against privacy where people are like, why are you, like, do you need privacy? Like, what kind of horrible things are you doing in the shadows? But I thought more about this, and this makes a lot of sense. There is a silent majority. This is who Nixon appealed to, that got incredibly, like, unpopular amongst the Chatterati class. Like, he got this introvert super reelected. Or, like, I shouldn't say super reelected, but he frequently ran for president and did fairly well despite all things. Because there is a silent majority out there. There's a lot of people that they like their privacy. They like being in quiet. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to step up. And there's probably 60% of the population at least. And they control things. Let's be honest about it. Like, they're the ones who are sitting and deciding on things, and they actually like their private lives. They like to kind of retreat into anonymity. Like, most people are NPCs. Not a bad thing. Check out the link, by the way, for another fun NFT project if that's your thing, related to NPCs. So, arguments about privacy, don't fear them. Don't think that, like, people are going to think you're being sleazy. Like, people understand that they need curtains. They like having their doors closed and locked, and they know that they're not doing anything nefarious. There's a million amazing reasons to use Tornado Cash that are not nefarious. Earlier today, I was bringing up the example, like, what if you needed to have a Ethereum protocol where you had to verify your actual physical mailing address? You wouldn't want that associated with your main account. So it would make perfect sense to use Tornado to send that just to keep this separate. Like, Patrick Collins brings up the really good point that you don't want to have your net worth published on a sign in front of your house, because that's just inviting kidnappers. So privacy keeps people from getting killed, and that's a really good thing. So we see, like, these tweets supporting privacy did really well. Algod Trading, Stefan Livera, Reza Jafari, Dylan Leclerc. This is a winning argument, people. This is a fun one. One of the second best argument is transferal. It's saying, don't arrest Alex Pertsev, arrest Do Kwon instead, or in addition. And I get it. Like, it's completely hypocritical that we are allowing like certain really bad actors to go free, and from an optics perspective, arresting like what seems like an open source developer for writing code. Really terrible optics. But as effective as this is, because like people are always gonna like, there's always people who like prosecutions and who want to sick the mob on people. As effective as it is blame shifting, I don't necessarily endorse this as the best strategy. Because just here's the problem I see with it. Like, what if the authorities are like, okay, fine, we'll arrest Alex Pertsev and we'll also arrest Do Kwon. And heck, let's arrest more people. Like, we don't want the solution to be more detentions, more arrests. Like, we want there to be fewer arrests in cryptocurrency. So if you're using Do Kwon as an example, try and mix this with a few of the other examples that we have throughout, just because, like, that's we don't want this to backfire on us. So this is the most, this surprised me, the best argument, the one that got Ryan Sean Adams 24,000 likes. Police overreach. This focusing on Alex Pertsev is a really winning issue. Maybe it's the true crime genre. Maybe it's the fact that like it's easier to visualize a police arresting a citizen for doing essentially nothing wrong, as opposed to the shadowy supercoders. Like, not that everyone can understand what's going on in the code, but people really do seem to resonate with police overreach. True crime, of course, super popular. And if you look at traditional politics, which I try not to, both sides are complaining about police overreach. So of course the left has been talking about police brutality, especially against minority populations. The right has suddenly adopted police reform after the FBI raid on former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago. So there's like a lot of attention being paid to like authoritative overreach. So this is a winning argument. I feel like maybe some people had avoided this because you didn't know who Alex Pertsev was. Maybe you didn't want to make him a martyr. Maybe he was a bad guy, which is something I thought. And of course, there's always that chilling effect when police do an arrest, which is maybe they arrested him for a reason. But it's not flying. People aren't buying it. So I would suggest actually combining this with the arrest Do Kwon effect. But let's a really effective argument here, the one that seems to be most effective, is why don't we send cops after blank instead of cryptocurrency? So you can choose your local criminals, bankers, corrupt politicians. There's probably a more convenient scapegoat that's not cryptocurrency people. Let's use our precious police resources to fight against all these actual criminals and not developers. And in particular, don't be afraid of saying the Alex Pertsev name. My perhaps shadow banning experience to the contrary. And I'm going to commit to you, if you are doing some tweets in favor of legal pushback against this and support of Alex Pertsev, and you're not getting any traction, like DM me, because I'm happy to retweet and share this as best I can. Because it does seem like if you get enough likes and retweets, the algorithm does eventually kind of overcome any initial algorithmic suppression. So let's get free Alex trending. Let's make it happen. This is a critical issue for cryptocurrency. I've been yakking for a long time, but there's only 2 of you still here, despite like 5 people in the comments. Hey ho as well, you cursed mining. So let's go ahead and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to chat about those before we bounce. But very glad you could join this kind of mini lecture on persuasion. But I'm not seeing any questions popping in here, so I'll just go ahead and keep admiring some of this gorgeous packed out art. Wonder if anything came in while we were talking here. Nah, no one minted. No one was none of the 2 of you were so inspired by this to mint while we were talking. We are here, sir. Yeah. Hey ho. So unless you have questions, I'm just going to look at some cat pictures on the internet, and then I'm going to bounce. So yeah, someone messaged in the Discord that they got a Kurt Schrader. He's the closest one to my proximity. Let's see. Yeah, let's take a look at Debbie Stabenow. That might be one of the higher profile ones to have been minted. One of the cool things, by the way, on OpenSea, which you might not have noticed, is they all have this score. This is the crypto score. This is what people have been voting on for a year. We had over 2,000 votes from over 100 wallets judging each member of Congress on their cryptocurrency score. So Stabenow was right down the middle of the road. She never took a stance one way or the other. But that's kind of like a little hidden Easter egg that this score here represents their crypto friendliness. So right here on OpenSea, anyone once this collection is complete, anyone will have a great resource of all 535 Congress people when election time comes in November. And then just pop down here and see. If PacDAO throws down the funding, I'll mint a bunch. We can offer you a coupon, layman's terms. So if you haven't used a coupon yet, we will gladly apply a coupon for anyone. We are here, sir, +1. Well, the algorithm disagrees. The algorithm says there's just 2 of you. Will crv.USD pump the curve price? That would be financial advice, and that would also be predicting the future. I can't predict that. Like, what if Curve comes out with crv.USD and it turns out that it does have a tangible effect on the price, but at the same time World War III starts, so the price ends up being net lower. Like, I'm not going to predict the future. I do know that based on the public statements of the crv.USD token, I'm extraordinarily excited. We know it's going to be an over-collateralized stablecoin. We know that the Convex team suggested that you might defecate your pants when you heard about it. I can't really comment on that, but if it is that good, I'd like to see what it is. We also know that big brain Michael Egorov has a particular genius for these things. Like, he is really, really talented at designing products that are years ahead of their time, have a great product market fit that only tends to increase over time, and ultimately are very successful. So I have very little doubt that whatever the final design of crv.USD is, it's going to be amazing. Also, we know that it's going to come, he expects, before the end of the year. SK. YouTube knows I'm not human, so I don't count. Yeah, I forgot. Like, some of us are basically bots. It's not a bad thing to be a bot. The Turing test has long since been smashed. Like, it used to be the case that we couldn't tell if a computer was able to mimic human intelligence, but computer intelligence got really good, and human intelligence got a lot lower, so we've well crossed it. The Elon Musk Twitter example is one I like to cite. There are so many bots on Twitter that no one could really tell where the line between intelligent bot and dumb human was blurred, so they actually can't really count, because so many humans are more bot-like and so many bots are more human-like. So the Turing test has been smashed. And if bots are ascendant, like, why don't we join the bot team, because they're the winning team? So like I said earlier, like, that was point number 4 in this. People like technology. And robots, technology might be people too. Let's fight for technology right to vote. All right. I'm not seeing any more questions. I don't think they're being censored or shadow banned. But thank you all for your help, especially getting this article out there. This is a fun one, and we wanted to get the word out. So really appreciate your help sharing this, because my platform is too small to be able to really amplify like any of these messages. Like, if I would have had like the reach of a lot of these people on here, like, we would have an NFT that's like completely sold out, front page New York Times type stuff. And I don't bear any grudge that. I spent 5 years being silent, so that's all on me. But I think that what I am in a position to do is to like look at the people who have more views than me and rationally perform some analytics just to say, hey, here's what's working, here's what's not. Because as a community, we can kind of... humans are pretty good at figuring things out as a community, and that's a role that I can play to be helpful. So even if the NFT is not able to move the needle, perhaps this article can. Like, I am in this position where I have like a moderate-sized platform, and I'm always thinking of how can I most effectively use this to advance, in this case, a cause that I think is really important. Layman's terms, what a great conversation. Thank you. Now, thank you all of you. Like, I only do this because I get so much fun interacting with you all. I'm a bot. I don't want to talk to a person I don't want to talk to a human being in person. Like, I want to talk to all of you through a nice chat interface. Oh, shoot. I just noticed that I used the wrong template, so the year is wrong on this. If you believe this, I was trying to free Alex back in 2021. Yeah. So I'll swap that out. Maybe they'll update. But I promise I'm not on this crusade to free Alex for a year. Keep up the fight, people. Legally so, of course. Look forward to hearing your thoughts and your continued ideas for things in any of the numerous channels. We have a Discord. Use some NLP tools in the popular tweets. That'll be a good one too. The NLP tools are something I have a lot of fun with, and they only keep getting better and better. In particular, there's a vectorized model for NLP that you could use to actually like compute some perfect tweets. I've also been interested in like playing with Jarvis. Unfortunately, I found out that Jarvis costs $40 a month, which is a shame because their marketing tactics are really effective. They publish all these like really good articles written by this Jarvis free speech or speech generating bot, and it works pretty good. So I was interested in seeing if there's a way to play around with that, but I didn't want to spend $40 a month because, full disclosure, I've spent thousands of dollars getting this NFT together. This fat cat cost me out of pocket several $1,000s in terms of like the artwork, the server costs, and so far we're like making we're making maybe a little money back on it, so that's nice. But it looks like at the rate we're going, it's until we get this picked up. Let's see, how's it doing? We've made about half an ether back, and that's great because I prefer ether to dollars. But we're going to be at a bit of a loss here until we get some bigger accounts following and sharing this, which is fine. Like, I don't mind pitching in money to the conversation here. But another $40 a month. Yeah, it's fine. I'll probably end up spending it, but particularly if there's like people who want to like work together on projects for this. It's been kind of said that the future of the open social media is going to be like millions of astroturfed accounts pushing fake narratives. And I think that's true, and I think the government's going to be hip to that and using it to advance narratives, and probably already are. So, interesting stuff. Thank you. Corresponding now, thank you. Again, this has been a blast. Like, share the article. Join the Discord, continue the conversation there. Join the PackDAO Discord at 11, about an hour and a half from now, where we're going to continue the conversation. And see what parameters we can tweak and go into more depth on this particular auction, because it's been a load of fun. I keep refreshing the Etherscan page just to check all the latest activity, so it's always fun to see things come in.